All right, welcome back. Yes, as you can see, the youths have got the floor today on the program. On my far right, to Austin Okai, who is the National Coordinator, PDP National Youth Frontier. He is also the House of Reps candidate for the Kina-Bassa Federal Constituency for Kogi State. And then sitting right beside him is Issa Abubakar, who is the Director of Youth Affairs, Obi Dati Presidential Campaign Council. And then on my immediate right is Aliyu Aldu, the National Youth Spokesperson, Tinubu Shetima Campaign Council. Gentlemen, good morning. Thank you for coming on today.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, Nigerians.
Well. So we know from the figures out there, from what the INEC has in terms of those who are expected to make a big splash, a big say in who is where are young people. Yes, we know the narrative, the leaders of tomorrow. So a lot of focus will be on young people for these elections and perhaps moving forward. So I'll start from you, Mr. Okai. As much as you're also vying, but what are your expectations in terms of how youth participation should be, and then what young people, the kind of role they're expected to play in these elections?
Thank you for having me. The Yaga statistic as ruled out in the 1999 general and 2019 election say that 66% of the voters were all youth, within the age of youth. But what do we stand to benefit after participating in an election? Also, the recent indices by INEC that majorities of those, the new voters who rush into various polling for PVCs were all within the age of the youth. That is to say, we have the say, we are the one to decide who becomes the president. We have the power in our hands now to decide who should be the next governor, and now we have the power in our hand to decide who goes to the National Assembly on various political parties as a youth. But the problem is, are we aware of that? And now that call for awakening, awareness, and re-awareness, which is expected of the Minister of the Youth, the Independent National Electoral Commissions, and other civil society organizations to engage youth in encourage the participation, youth participation in the forthcoming election. But that is lacking. Even the candidates engaging youth in a town hall meeting, I think it's only the PDP presidential candidate that engaged the party, the youth, and these youth were also all just selected.
Only what? The PDP
presidential candidate. I've seen him
engage the youth.
And he's always even selected from within the party itself.
Oh, so you haven't seen that of the
Labour National
Party,
Youth Council,
APC or NMPP?
I haven't. The Student Union Government, the other youth organs of the party have not been, of the country, have not been engaged in to seal an agreement or to engage in among these presidential candidates. What do we stand to benefit?
All right, they'll speak for themselves on that, regard. But Issa, what's your perspective on this matter?
I think one of the beautiful things that is about to happen in this country is the awakening of young persons to realize that they have everything it takes to produce the next president, and as well to decide what happened in their country. Is one of those beautiful things that I would say will happen in 2023 general election. And that is why you see my presidential candidate in person of Peter Obi see the youthfulness in me and say I should come and direct the affair of young persons for him in the country. It is a sign that without even going too far, he is willing to work with young persons irrespective of where you come from or who you are. He don't really want to know. In as much as you're a young person, you are competent, you can deliver. I think he's the only presidential candidate that have that willingness to drive that for young persons. So we are very, very much hopeful that with him as president, this agitation of youth participation in politics and what the view will be a thing of the past, because he have no option. He have no people around him other than young persons to work with. And then you can even see that from his campaign train, where you hardly see a former governor with him or a former minister with him. You see, it is we, the youth, that drive.
Does seeing a former minister or former governor invalid mean that you don't have youth working with them?
Oh, absolutely. It shows that these are the kind of faces that we're still going to see in the next government. You understand? But it is something that we are driving ourselves. We organize these rallies ourselves without his intervention.
Well, so how does your party rank in the youth participation and youths having a sense of belonging with whatever else they do?
I think it's pretty clear that the only party who's got the that has really provided a platform for young people to develop themselves is the APC. And I say this because we didn't wait until presidential election to start doing all of this. You are aware for a lot of months now, and more than a month, we've taken charge of our party. We've ensured we hold our leaders accountable, because when we came together as young people, as members of this party, one of the things they promised us is that they want to position the country for our own good, for the good of young people. And our dream has always been to take it.
How has that worked?
It's worked so pretty well. You are aware, you were partners with us when we decided to do what we need to do to ensure that our party is being managed appropriately in line with our set.
No, I'm talking about in governance.
Yeah, there's been a lot of empowerment, a lot of young people being mainstream into governance, into partisan positions and within the party, and we holding our head high and running for position and taking candidate tickets and everywhere. So the presidential campaign is just another step, where we are currently trying to show, we're not sitting back and waiting for them to give us. We are showing our worth, so that by our worth, we'll be able to say, from what we've done so far till date, that you can lay your hands. So these are the things we've shown what we can do, so you know where we.
By the way, what he was talking about when they said we are aware is while they were trying to ensure that the right persons become the presidential candidates, so that people don't misunderstand. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's very important that that be clarified, because I just wanted him to set that straight. But, I'm going to take a look at what has happened with young people in recent times in terms of how active they have been in even the different campaigns of a presidential candidate. Or let me say prior to that. In recent times, we've seen young people agitating for better governance. One of the issues that they had was with police brutality. It culminated in the EndSARS campaign, became rather big. And it would seem that the APC bungled that particular agitation. A lot of people felt disenchanted with how it was handled, because eventually we saw what happened. There was now a very big row. There has been no consensus between the protesters and government as to whether lives were lost. At the rally, the young people continue to insist that lives were lost. And then we also saw the chaos, the utter chaos that happened right afterwards. And even at that, it doesn't look like the police reforms that have, which they tried to put in place have now been far-reaching. There are still many incidences of police brutality still being recorded. So there were questions as to, given how your party handled the agitations of young people, and a lot of people would say they were genuine agitations. How do you appeal to them now to say that, our party, by that I mean your party, has the interest of the people, especially young people at heart, understands what their pains are, and is able to address them?
All right. As much as I don't want to delve so much into the whole EndSARS saga, we were quite at the forefront, the APC young stakeholders, when the protest started. We came out, we identified that the concerns were genuine. And we had reached out to our government, people in positions, and had conversation with them. And we came out and we addressed the press. We spoke to our young people outside, as genuine as this is. Whatever it is you want to do, not just doing it, the way you do it matters. Because the moment you decide to assemble people and protest on, you must ensure that you're not infringing on other citizens' rights too. There were a lot of things that could have been done better on both sides, no doubt about that. But most importantly, as at the time it was properly coordinated, there was a good response from the government. There was commitment from the government. 5 demands were submitted, and those 5 demands were adhered to. And the truth of the matter is, we know most of those demands, apart from the one that ended the SARS, they abolished the SARS as a unit, Other ones were processes. We're going to take time. That was exactly what we said in our press conference. Let's re-strategize. You know, the essence of the protest, like war itself, is to bring yourself to the table where we can have conversation. It's a means to an end, not an end itself. But I think the young people lost that plot. And at the time where we were supposed to come up with the most important part of the whole struggle, which was to represent ourselves with a set of leaders, we decided to say we didn't have leaders. Like we went from, I mean, I'm saying we because as a young person, I see, I mean, it's my constituency. Before being a party member, I'm a young Nigerian. That's a title I hold very strongly. So my point is, we wanted to resist bad governance, leadership, and the next thing we were going to say was that we're going to move from not so good leadership to no leadership. That wasn't anything progressive. That wasn't anything wise at all.
Yeah, but the bad blood as a result of that still lingers. How do you hope to get past that, to say, look, let's move beyond that, and let's take a look at what is happening with the politics?
We're having conversation with different demographics, with the young people, different groups of young people around the country. As the youth wing of the APC, we're having this conversation, looking at because part of the things we've realized is the lack of history in our environment. A lot of young people do not know the journey of Nigeria. They don't know where we're coming from. So it's very hard for you to be able to assess how much we have moved the needle. So what we are doing right now is saying, yes, we know we are not, where we ought to be. We don't have the country we desire for. But let's look back at where we're coming from. Let's be grateful for some of the things some of these old guys have been able to do. It is not us versus them. We are going to have to work with them. We have the youthfulness, we have the innovative skills, we have the energy, but we haven't lived the life they've lived. We don't have the experience. We're going to have to collaborate with these people and ensure we work together to build a nation we want. We can't do this on our own. We have to learn, then put what we can add value to it. That's exactly what we're talking to Nigerian young people, and they're listening, and we're getting good feedback as to...
I don't know where you're getting your feedback from. I mean, we'll come to that. But let me come to Mr. Okai, because a number of people will say that from what we are seeing, if we're to look at the platforms where young people tend to give their feedback, it's on social media. And if we're going to, look at that, it does look like there is a general rejection of gerontocrats. They say, no, we do not want anybody who is older. The older people have brought us to where we are. They haven't shown that they do truly have the capacity or the interest of the future of this country at heart. What conversations are you having with young people in that regard to say, no, we need the experience of the older people, or to say that, your candidate understands what it is they're talking about and that there's still a chance to be able to put structures in place for the future?
Yeah, that is why what we are doing in PDP, the People's Democratic Party, through the National Youth Frontier, we are demanding for 25%, 35% of youth affirmation. Now, what we are trying to do in demanding for affirmation is because automatically, with the cost nature of Nigeria politics, it is difficult for us to have a younger one as the presidential candidate in our own party. We are disadvantaged on that. Forget it that I'm a party man. I strongly believe that the youth are not being treated fairly across the political party, both APC, PDP, and Labour Party. No, Labour Party is not yet on board, so they are just coming up. I can't say there are policies on youth. But as it stands now, the younger generations seems to be tired of the older one, as you say, and it's obvious. Has been proven on social media. But what should we do? What we are talking to the president now, our current candidate, the presidential candidate, is let there be a policy that will have youth inclusiveness. And that is by demanding for an affirmation. And of recent, the national youth leaders of the party engaged a town hall meeting where youth of the parties were selected and engaged Alhaji Atiku Abubakar. What is our stand? What do we stand to benefit? Should we be? And part of affirmation for us, we are pushing that junior ministers should be youth. We can't have a senior man as a senior minister and a senior man as a junior minister.
Did they agree?
We are pushing for it.
But he hasn't agreed yet.
He hasn't. We haven't done, you can't agree without the paper. And I'm sure the office of the national leader will push through a paper document for him to sign. There's nothing wrong in us having a man at the age of 30 as a minister of finance. We can't just limit us to the minister of youth. And even the minister of youth are not even young. They are not young men. There's nothing wrong in having someone at the age of 35 years as the minister of women affairs. It's not wrong. We are now at the mercy, and we have the chunks of vote. We can't become a president of this country. You can't become a governor of this country. You can't become a senate without us. Youth inclusiveness, without it, we decide. I look at my age, at the age of 30-something, I'm a candidate for Federal House of Reps, and some people consider me that I have no regards for an elderly man. Why? Because I am a young one and I won the primaries, and I'm a young one. I'm contesting against an APC candidate who claimed to know my father. For that, I have no regard for her. This is where we are at disadvantage in all round. So it's left for us to educate our people, the constituency, which have over 60% voting power, the youth people. Let there be an agreement, a paper one. We can forget about the APC, forget about Labour Party, forget about that is PDP. Let us advocate for youth inclusiveness, and let us be seen in taking decisions that will affect my own future. You can't plan my tomorrow without me involved.
We're still talking youth participation in politics, especially as the 2023 general elections approach. Austin Okai, National Coordinator of the PDP, Aliyu Audu, National Youth Spokesperson, Tinubu Shetima Campaign Organization, and Issa Abubakar, Director Youth Affairs, Ubi Dati Presidential Campaign Council, are here in our studios with us. And just before we went on break, we've taken the responses of Mr. Audu and Mr. Okai. So, Mr. Abubakar, it would seem that your party, or shall I say your candidate, has managed to harness a lot of the discontent that young people feel. And, you know, as you pointed out in your opening remarks, you know, young people seem to be doing a lot of the things for your party and for the campaign of your presidential candidate. But there are those who are saying that perhaps this is a little oversimplified, that it doesn't quite carry the complexities involved in governing a country like Nigeria. Do you fear that, you know, given your own understanding of how Nigeria works and what it really need, what it will take to, you know, take it to the path that a lot of young people expect, that a lot of people understand the weight and the amount of work that needs to be done for them to really be able to make an impact towards the country that they desire?
You know, it's very, very understanding that we are at a time where my political party and as well the presidential candidate we represent is contesting among two money bags that have the...
He's not a poor man. The presidential candidate of your party
no,
is
I'm not saying he's a poor man. I'm not saying he's a poor man. He's not a poor man. But when you compare him with these two people, there are people that have been in power at the center stage and as well have controlled a lot of resources within the state they manage.
But he has been in power too.
So definitely you will expect them to do a lot. But one beautiful thing, I keep on using this word, beautiful thing that is about to happen is that the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria have signed the Electoral Act, which have made it more easier for a competent candidate to win an election and for our vote to count. And the people we are banking on, which are the young persons that have seen the way their country have been run from 1999 till date, have realized that they are being disappointed by these faces that are still presenting themselves to govern the country.
So when I talk about complexity, given a scenario about, you know, the chances of your candidate if he's able to take it, or if he's able to take it, let me leave it at that. There are three arms of government. There's the executive arm of government. There is the legislature. There is also the judiciary. What do you think is going to be happening in the legislative arm of government if you're also not there at that level? If this campaign is about one person?
It's not about one person. It's about Nigerians. You know, ordinarily, we could have an independent candidate without a political party. Ordinarily, if things being equal and the law that was proposed was actually put into law, we should have an independent candidate without a political party. That is when the will of the people will definitely determine, oh, this is the real person we want. And we're not scared that we already have the masses that are in abject poverty. And if we win this election come February, I don't think because there is nobody in the reps for us or Senate for us that there will be any issue for my party or for my presidential candidates. This is Nigeria. a lot of them will end up even defecting, and after we're going to win. We've positioned people in all these political offices to contest, and we are optimistic that they're going to win. And even if they don't win election, to say maybe because of the spread of all political parties across the country, I am optimistic that Nigeria will protect their own, will protect their presidents.
Let's go to Lagos. Our colleagues also have questions for all of you. Go ahead, guys.
Well, thank you, Chamberlain. Gentlemen, I'd like to ask you this. Do you have a shared vision for Nigeria? As young people in politics, do you have a shared vision for Nigeria as a nation in spite of your political differences? And I'm talking about Mr. Okai, Mr. Abubakar, Mr. Audu. What is your vision for Nigeria? Because there will always be the question as to why it is we see young people at the corridors or in this circle of politicians whom a lot of people have blamed as to the people responsible for bringing the nation to where it is right now. So I want to backtrack a bit, and I will start with Mr. Audu. What is a vision of the youth in politics for Nigeria? Maybe you using yourself as a, let's say, point of contact to that. Let us know, what is your vision for Nigeria?
All right. Basically, what we want is a Nigeria where the young man is free to participate in every activity he desires and he thinks is competent and has what it takes to play. I do not think, I don't want a free nation when anything is handed to anybody for free. I mean, people don't seem to appreciate what they get for free, which is why for our political party and our young people in our political party, we've worked, we were at the beginning, even before the formation of our party, we've been actively involved in the running and challenging activities within our party to ensure inclusion first thing first. What we want at this point is have a number of young people. You can't own a system you don't partake in. So what we're doing at this point is to ensure that we have that inclusion of young people there. And my presidential candidate, having listened to us, has promised 9
Mr. Audu,
cabinet
Mr. Audu, we'll get to that. And I know it's a campaigning period, but I want to just hear the vision young people have for Nigeria. And you have said yours. I'll go to Mr. Okai now, because I want to maybe weigh and see really, and want Nigerians to hear exactly what vision it is that you have for Nigeria. Mr. Okai, what is that vision that you, as a young person, and by extension, young people in your party have for this nation, Nigeria?
I said it earlier, that you can't plan my tomorrow without me having a say at my level or at the age I am now. Now I'm speaking on behalf of the youths, of Nigerian youth. We must have a policy that will be youth inclusive, where youth can enjoy their own nature. Talk of the unemployment now. You can't talk of the elderly people that they are unemployed. Who are the largest numbers of people that are unemployed today are youth. Look at the just ended strike that lasted for almost 8 to 9 months under APC-led administration. Who are the people that is affected, apart from the lecturer that, of course, is the youth that are already days, years, and months has been taken away from their own life. Whether you like it or not, it's going to affect the year they are going to graduate. And you are coming to look for a job tomorrow, they'll tell you that once you are above 20 these years, you are above 30 these years, you can't get employment. There must be a sound policy that will consider youth first. We must sustain this country as an indivisible entity.
Okay.
And for us to talk of reducing the crime, there must be youth engagement, political participation, political appointment, job creation, employment opportunity. That is, as it is today, we are at disadvantage in all round. And
okay, let me take this to Mr. Abubakar.
Going to National Assembly.
Right, so let me take this to Mr. Abubakar and get his own vision for Nigeria as a youth, and by extension, the youth in your party, Labour Party. Mr. Abubakar.
Abu?
My vision is just simple. We look at a country where justice, equity will be the only thing that will make each and every one of us have sense of belonging. We don't want a nation where people take advantage of others because of their population, because of their ethnic affiliation or religion. We want a nation where competency define everything. We want a nation where young persons will see reason to be happy about their nation. And how will that happen? Is by having a working country, is by having a system that accommodates our ideas, our thoughts, that as well a principled nation. And the only way we can have this principled nation is to have someone that is principled to govern, to lead the nation. So my vision for the country is for active participation of young persons in politics, where we will all make this rule very clear this time around. We shouldn't just sit on the fence without being a member of a political party or supporting a candidate we believe in. I don't see my nation moving forward without every young person within the age of 18 to 40 not actively engaging himself in political activities. Because if we do not participate, we'll be left with people that does not have our interests at heart.
Okay, so Mr. Abubakar,
charge of our country,
right,
and to take charge of our life entirely.
Okay, so I'd like to do this, and this is for three of you now, Mr. Okai, Mr. Abubakar, and Mr. Audu. I'd like to ask you, listening to yourselves and listening to the vision you each have for Nigeria, and by extension, maybe youths in your party, does it sound like you have a shared vision? I'd just like to, maybe see three of you, and maybe by nodding your head, does it sound like you have a shared vision for this nation in spite of your political differences?
Yes.
Yes, we do.
Okay, fantastic. I think this is very important to set a background so we all know that the big picture is Nigeria. And I'll take this to Mr. Okai, because I was looking through some of the pictures you put on social media. Apparently you've been campaigning, and you just painted another picture today that indeed leadership positions go to people who are the biggest spenders, not necessarily those who are most eligible, most competent to run for office, because you've said it, money is a major hindrance. And I saw, people who are running behind you, cheering you, a lot of them, on dusty roads, no electricity, young people who look like they could be better taken care of. And, it just hurt me. And I wonder, if you were given a chance as a young person, what would you do differently? Because again, we always refer to people who have led this country in the past up to where it is right now. So as a youth, what would you do differently?
So unfortunately, as a lawmaker, you'll be limited to what you can do. But I will speak for them. I'll make sure their youth, their voice is being heard at national level. You can see them around me because they believe in what I have stood over the years in Kogi State. I have been the major opposition in the state, followed by the like of Senator Dino Melai and Barrister Natasha Akpoti. They believe in me. I complain about the funding, yes, because they're there because of a common ideology. And they know that this man who has stood for them for years will be there, and he will continue to do what he's doing without being given an elective position. I believe that, look at that road you will see. Somebody has to tell the federal government, somebody has to inform the Ministry of Works why the people of Dikina, Ayangba, Ajiolo, down to Oguma and Ogboloko in Basa local government need that road to be given a facelift. The major road that leads us there is nobody even discuss about us at the national level anymore. And if you look at it again, the younger ones, their voice is not being heard. And thank God, just as my sister Semokwe said, thank God for the social media today. Thank God for the social media. We felt being discriminated against. I can say this, even my own PDP, the APC. Why should you separate the campaign list between the youth council and the PCC? Can't we be a member of the PCC? What is wrong in not standing on the same podium with Asiwaju? What is wrong in standing on the same podium with P2B? What is wrong in not standing neck to neck with Alhaji Atiku Abubakar at the campaign rally? Why separate our own? Why separate our own list? These are the type of discrimination we are all complaining. And for some of us who have the opportunity of getting the mandate of our party, we will ensure that the tide change. We will ensure that the voice of the people will be heard at the National Assembly, and we will sponsor a bill. We will labor for ensure that the job creation, opportunity, look at the Jakarta state companies. Do you know the number of the jobs that company can create for Nigerians across the 6 political zone? Is lying there. We are talking of unemployment, and the country is not working. There must be a strong legislation that will keep the president on his own seat, to ensure that the young people are being carried along. And any policy that is anti-young people will be frustrated by some of us.
Indeed,
it's part
Mr.
of it. I won't mind leading a protest against the government that is not working.
You're right when you say that young people must be taken seriously, you know, but they also must work for it. I would like to follow up on, you know, the talk about what vision you have, you know, has initiated by Coyote. But first of all, let's look at inclusion. And when you talk about inclusion, the gender aspect is also key. When you look at the presentation of candidates from the results that have been provided, you know, so far by political parties across the divide, you find that the other parties, I don't want to use the word smaller parties now, have presented more female candidates than the main political parties. For instance, the APC has 9 candidates, 9 female candidates, and the PDP has about 4 or 5. I need to confirm that. So when you talk about inclusion, when there is no gender balance, and I'm taking this to all of you now, but I'm going to start with Mr. Okai. Yes, the APC. I'm going to start with the APC representative. The morning should show the day, and if we even look at, you know, what has been presented by, you know, your political party in terms of appointments for female, you know, politicians, it is dismal. So, what should we be expecting, you know, in terms of, you know, gender balance from your political party, should it win the election? Let's start with the APC representative.
All right, there's a commitment in the renewed hope by my candidate, saying committing to the 35%, and he's even gone further to say, you know, certain positions in MDAs will be reserved for women, as well as, you know, providing incentives for private sector to ensure a lot of inclusion for women in terms of, you know, hiring and employment. As far as I am concerned, with I do not think the idea of wanting to be given preference it should be at the expense of some other person. Like my brother rightly said, what we can all, you know, ask for is a level playing field. While we are aware that certain things are against us, we are going to have to work on ourselves. We are going to have to step up. We are going to have to show that we have what it takes. I mean, if we don't work for this thing, if we don't show that we have the capacity, the competence, and the character to act in this position, when we are given, we are going to abuse it. This is not the first time. I mean, we've had a speaker of the House of the House
Mr. Audu, the challenge is not a lack of competent women, you know, to fill positions. We've seen some of your campaigns ahead of the 2023 presidential elections, and we've seen how women came out, you know, to support your party, your candidate. So it's not a lack of women. So when you say that we must show competence, are you saying that the women in your party have not shown competence?
Not at all. Every contest is a competition. Senator Binani in Adamawa State, who is the gubernatorial candidate of my party for Adamawa State now, won her senatorial election in 2019. I happen to be part of the committee that conducted her primary. And I can tell you that she ran against a number of solid, competent men, but she defeated all of them. So nobody will wake up tomorrow and say Senator Binani was given on the platter. She earned it. And that's one thing we young people, and including other, we need to participate first thing first. Then we need to talk to ourselves. We have the number like we like to mouth. We have the number, we have the number. How are we coordinating these numbers? How are we ensuring that we are able to use? It's a matter of using what you have, where your strength is, against where you don't have the strength.
So gentlemen, let's do less than 60 seconds each as we wind down. Let's start with you, Austin. Why do you think your party will win these elections?
Yeah, Nigerians has tested the party. They have been ruled by the People's Democratic Party with our agenda and manifesto. And today they are testing the All Progressive Congress Party. And it is obvious that when you have tested the two, you should be able to come up with the fact that Nigerians are tired of what is on ground. The economy in comatose, insecurity, highest rate of unemployment, suspicions of the law, the rule of law has been suspended. So Nigerians they want a Nigeria of our dreams. And having seen that APC cannot lead us to the promised land, they have resolved to return back to the People's Democratic Party.
Nigeria wants a different thing. They want a new Nigeria. Nigerians don't want to do things the way they normally do it again. They want to test a new person. They want to bring up something that is quite different from what we are used to. The APC and the PDP are still presenting Nigeria with something that we are used to. I can predict what will happen if Atikus win. I can predict what will happen if Tinubu win. But none of you can predict what will happen if Peter Obi win election. So we need something new. And I believe a new Nigeria is very, very possible. Economic, agriculture, education, youth empowerment. These are things that I'm optimistic that Peter Obi will give it a new face as far as Nigeria is concerned. I mean, I'm confident of victory. My candidate, my party will win because he's the most competent, he's the most qualified, he's most deserving, and he's got the party with the biggest structure to win the election. I mean, when they talk about new thing, I talk about not being able to predict what happened. I don't think we want to move from uncertainty. We want to move into any sense of uncertainty. We have all of these people who have served in public offices. Their antecedent, their track record speaks for them. It's not time you come and mouth off for what you're going to do, what you want to do. You've had 8 years as a governor of a state in our best period. He did perfectly well.
And we have 8, I mean, my candidate doesn't have to talk too much. All he needs to do is to point you to Lagos, where he's done. All right. And it's enough for us to see that he's going to just replicate what he's done in Lagos at the national level. All right, Ali, I'll do. Issa Abubakar Osinokai. Gentlemen, thank you very much indeed for coming on. And we wish you all young people in your parties all the best.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.